Hey everyone, we're all trying to figure out this whole human AI thing, right? In our work, in our lives, it feels like we've been handed this powerful new tool, but no one gave us the instruction manual. Well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to build that missing manual by pulling together two really big ideas to figure out how to create human AI teams that actually, truly work.
Okay, so let's start right here with this quote from the Boston Consulting Group because it just hits the nail on the head. The biggest roadblock to AI adoption, it's not the tech, it's not the software. It's a deeply human fear. It's the worry about being left behind, about becoming irrelevant. See, it's not about the code, it's about our careers.
So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If this whole challenge is both about the tech and the people, how on earth do we build a team, a partnership, that we can really trust? Turns out the answer comes in two parts. One part speaks to the heart, and the other, well, that one speaks to the head.
Let's start with the first piece of our manual, the heart. And the big idea here is that for way too many companies, the human side of all this is a massive blind spot, and the only way to fix it is to lead with empathy.
I mean, this is where so many of these AI projects just fall apart. Leaders are looking at the spreadsheets, right? They see the numbers, the efficiency, the potential profits, but they have this giant blind spot for what their employees are actually feeling, the anxiety, the uncertainty, all those totally legitimate fears. They're great at selling the business case, but they completely forget to address the human case.
The fix, according to BCG, is something they call cognitive empathy. And I love this because they don't treat it as some fuzzy, soft skill. Nope, they frame it as an actionable strategy. It's a practical, repeatable way of genuinely understanding where people are coming from so you can build trust and actually motivate them through all this change. And here's what that strategy actually looks like. It starts at the top, with leaders being honest, admitting they don't have it all figured out. Then, you've got to create safe spaces where people can talk about their fears without, fearing for their jobs. Next, it's about getting out there and understanding how this change is going to affect marketing versus engineering versus sales. And finally, you make it a team sport. You test things out together and you react to what you learn together.
And this is so important. This can't just be an initiative or some memo from HR. For this to really stick, it has to become part of the company's DNA. It has to be lived and breathed by the CEO and then cascade all the way down through the entire organization.
So, there you have it. Leading with the heart, with empathy, it solves a massive piece of the puzzle. It handles the fear, it builds real trust, and it gets your team psychologically ready and, frankly, willing to even try working with AI.
But that leads to another question, a really important one. Okay, so everyone feels good. Everyone's on board. But how do we know that this new human AI team is actually making good decisions? Better decisions. Feeling good is one thing, but we need to know the output is reliable. And that brings us to the second part of our manual.
All right, part 2 of the manual, the head. This is all about the logic, the process. It's about finding a rigorous way to test our new team, and it means we have to move beyond just asking how accurate is the AI to a whole new way of thinking about collaboration.
So for a long time, the holy grail for researchers has been this idea called complementarity. The logic is super intuitive, right? A human working with an AI should be better than the human alone and better than the AI alone. Basically, 1 + 1 = 3. That's been the goal.
But here's the thing, a really fascinating new paper points out that this idea, as nice as it sounds, is kind of full of holes. It's not clearly defined, you can only really measure it after you already know the right answer, and it mostly just looks at accuracy, completely ignoring other huge factors like how much did it cost, how much effort did it take?
See, for way too long, we've been asking this one simple question. We pour all our energy into testing the AI model by itself. We tweak it, hoping for another little bump in accuracy, thinking that if we just make the tool a tiny bit better, that's the whole solution.
But this is the big mental shift we need to make. The researchers say we should be asking a much, much better question. Instead of just looking at the AI, we need to evaluate the reliability of the entire process. The whole system, the human, the AI, the workflow, the data, the training, all of it.
Now, their framework for this has a big name: computational reliabilism. Sounds complicated, I know, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. A process is reliable if it consistently gives you results that are, quote, epistemically adequate. All that means is that the answers aren't just correct, they're also justified, they're sound, and they're genuinely trustworthy for the specific job you're doing. It's a way higher standard than just plain accuracy.
So how do you even measure that? Well, the framework gives us 3 buckets to look at. First, there's technical performance, stuff like, does the team correct its own errors? Second, epistemic standards. This is about asking, are we solving the right problem, and how do we deal with uncertainty? And third, and this one is so crucial, socio-technical practices, the nuts and bolts like training, ongoing monitoring, and clear rules of the road.
Okay, so now we've got the 2 halves of our manual, right? We have the heart, all about empathy and culture, and we have the head, all about having a rigorous, reliable process. Now it's time to put them together.
And when you look at them side by side, you see it, don't you? They're not 2 different playbooks. They're 2 parts of the same playbook. The heart, from BCG, builds the culture of trust and deals with those human fears. The head, from the archive paper, gives you the structure to make sure the work you're doing is actually solid and dependable. They're a perfect match.
Because here's what it all boils down to. The heart makes the head possible. You can design the most brilliant, data-driven, reliable process in the history of the world. But if your team is afraid of it, if they don't trust it, if they feel threatened by it, it will fail. Empathy is what builds the human foundation that your technical process has to stand on.
And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. A team that nails the technical process, that's a smart team. A team that masters the human dynamics, that's an emotionally intelligent team. But a team that can seamlessly weave both together, the head and the heart, that's not just smart, that's a wise team.
So as you think about building the future with AI, maybe in your job or your company, this is the question to leave with. Are you trying to lead with just a logical head, focused only on the tech? Or are you leading with just a compassionate heart, focused only on the people? Because the real magic, the real breakthrough, happens when you learn to lead with both.